Had more coffee on the house. It's not on the house, incidentally. You'll have to pay. And he said nothing about the book. So finally I said, well, how's that book coming? He said, I took your advice. What did I tell you? You said, to hell with the grammar and spelling, full speed ahead. In my notebooks, here's a letter, little letter, written me down from Cincinnati, a social worker up there. And here's what she'll tell you. I want you to tell your people down there in the hills not to come up here and make all this trouble for us in Cincinnati. We've got all we can handle with our own. They arrive here without a sign of a job and no skills and no quarters, and they end up living in the worst part of the town with the poorest of the poor. And they're proud. They won't take nothing off nobody. This results in fights and sometimes knifings and killings, and it's us who has to cause the extra burden. So take warning from that. Well, here's another one. I don't know whether Mal Gibson's here today or not. He said he's going to try to make it, and that's what he told me this. I'd pulled my truck off the road and was checking my tires when this long, overgrown automobile pulled up beside me. And the driver was a Jasper I had grown up with on Car Creek and hadn't seen since Noah's flood. Way back yonder, he'd moved up to Ohio or Summers, and I'd lost track of him up to the factories. He was in this big car with his woman and a bunch of young'uns, and they was like chickens in a coop. And I said, if I'd have known you was coming, I'd cut my toenails. And he said, you got uglier than you was the last time I saw you. I'm a great mind to pick me up a Sand Rock and run you all the way back to Steer Fork where you belong. We always did bull rag each other. And then I said, I want to know, are all them young'uns in there yours? And he said, yeah. He said, I'm going to have 8 more. And that's when his woman stuck her head out of the car window and spoke up and said, he might have 8 more by somebody else, but he ain't going to have them by me. I've done my due. Yeah. There are all kinds of little things like this. They said, that time I pulled in the penitentiary for making moonshine was pretty tough. And if they ever put me in again, it's going to be for singing too loud in church. Somebody was trying to take his number 2 woman away from him, and he heard about it. And was he fired up? He knocked out 3 windows and got up on the bed and jumped up and down. Well, it goes on, and I won't try to bother you with too much of that. If somebody has a copy of that little book here, Wolfie and I'd read a verse out of it. Okay, thank you. Now, there are bad men everywhere, I suppose. We've had our share, but it seems to me we have fewer. Of course, we've had, here in Knott County, Clay Jones, and I might say I had a poem once in Esquire. It was printed on 1 page, and there were illustrations, which I didn't draw, in color all around it, people dancing. They had bare feet. Well, there was a lady, I'll call her a woman rather lady, in Cincinnati, wrote to me. She saw this and she said, my grandpa, who was one of the bad men of Knott County, if he was alive today, he would take care of you. And then we know about Bad John Wright up here in Fletcher County. A Courier Journal correspondent was up in Jenkins one day, and somebody pointed out Bad John to him, and so he went up to him and said, "You know how reporters are. Are you Bad John Wright?" He said, "That's what they call me." "Is it true that you killed 14 men?" He said, "Yeah, and I'm just about thinking about making it 15. End of interview. Well, yeah. This poem is called, "Are You Up There, Bad Jack?" Now, most of these bad people, they usually, if they live long enough, they join the church and baptize in the creek of the Kentucky River somewhere, and presumably up there, I don't know. Are you up there, Bad Jack? Did he take you, Bad Jack means, baptized though you were in your sinking days, aged 80? Your path greased to heaven? They say your sins killed every fish in the river, every sunfish, crappie, and stone toter between McRoberts and Hazard. In your time, Bad Jack, you rammicked, you cut, you shot. When you stirred, life was barely tolerable. You slew 6. You slew hope. You slew scores of tomorrows. Are you up there, Bad Jack? If you are, if he took you in, I think I'll choose the other place. Now, I know you're all hot and tired and would like to go home, and I'll finish by reading one poem. I shall not leave these prisoning hills. I shall not leave these prisoning hills, though they topple their barren heads to level earth, and the forest slide uprooted out of the sky, though the waters of Troublesome, of Trace Fork, of Sand Lake rise in a single body to glean the valleys, to drown lush pennyroyal, to unravel rail fences, though the sunball breaks the ridges into dust and burns its strength into the blistered rock. I cannot leave, I cannot go away. Being of these hills, being one with the fox stealing into the shadows, one with the newborn foal, the lumbering ox drawing green beech logs to mill, one with the destined feet of man climbing and descending, and one with death rising to bloom again, I cannot go. Being all these hills, I cannot pass beyond. And thank you for coming. I'll attend your 80th, if not in person, in spirit.
We want to thank you all for coming here to help honor James Still today. I particularly want to thank all of the speakers who helped said for us all the depth of our affection for James Still and our appreciation for all of the insight and pleasure he's given us through the years. Thank you very much. Mike has a few announcements. We want you to come back to Hindman sometime.
My only announcement is that I have some press people here, and if you want, I want to keep Mr. Still up here, and I'll work that out with you to do some talking with him. So you folks come forward, and because they've got some deadlines, so the press come up forward with them. Thank you for coming. Be careful going home, and maybe we'll see you again in about 10 more years for the 90th.
That's great. That was nice. I came over to Carl's funeral last year. I got this kind of heat, wasn't it?
Sure was.
That was a very inspiring discovery.
This was a very nice program.